I'm Orlin Sidney. We are keeping our eyes on what is a very strong storm. Category 2, Hurricane George continues in the Gulf of Mexico. We're watching the rain pretty much move away from the Florida coast currently. I-75 between Tampa and southward does look like it's going to continue to be pretty wet today, but most of the rain is moving away currently, and we're focusing our eyes now a little bit further to the northwest for a potential second landfall this weekend. Hurricane warning is in effect now from Morgan City, Louisiana to Panama City, Florida. There is a hurricane watch out to the west from Morgan City, Louisiana to Intracoastal City, Louisiana. Out to the east, a tropical storm warning, hurricane watch in effect from Panama City, Florida to St. Marks, Florida. So just about all of the Gulf Coast, at least in the north, you have to be concerned about potential landfall of this storm. Most likely landfall point right now looks like Buras, Louisiana, and I don't want you to concentrate too much on the exact landfall of the center because the hurricane force winds at this point extend out some 125 miles from the center. Just to give you an idea, between New Orleans and Gulfport, that's only 74 miles. New Orleans and Biloxi is only 87 miles. So if the storm comes inland in any of these areas, you could see tropical storm force winds or even hurricane force winds over a large area. We'll take a closer look at the track and the rest of the nation's forecast in just a few minutes. Gene?
Thanks, Orlin. Coming up on CNN Saturday, thousands return to their Florida homes to take a look at the damage done by George, while those living along the Gulf Coast prepare for the storm's next punch. We'll have live reports from where George has been and where it's headed. All of that is straight ahead.
Coming up today on CNN. At 1 p.m., it's World and National News live from CNN in Washington. And at 1:30, a world of discovery awaits you on Science and Technology Week. Then at 2, catch up on the latest news, sports, and weather on CNN Saturday. And at 2:30, food, glorious food, a recipe for healthy living is on the menu. That's all coming up today, Saturday on CNN.
Tonight on Larry King Weekend, Donnie and Marie Osmond have a new talk show, and they're our guests tonight, 9 Eastern, on CNN.
Last year, local, state, and federal law enforcement officials arrested hundreds of people for selling illegal cable descramblers and recovered the names of thousands of customers, each of whom could face a felony conviction, 6 months in jail, and a $2,000 fine. So if you don't think using an unauthorized black box is a crime, you should meet some of the people who do. Call today to get legal. Simply register your box and start paying your bill, and you're home free. No questions asked.
You know the animals out there. At Landmark Ford, we emphasize the human side of car buying with experienced salespeople who know their cars and know how to listen. And with a service department staffed with more Ford-certified master mechanics than any other dealership in the Northwest. Did I mention selection? Why monkey around? Remember, Landmark Ford can beat any local dealer's price. Come visit our one and only Tigard campus. Over 13 acres of savings. I-5 at the Haines exit.
It's a feeling of comfort, a feeling of joy, of life. Family. It is home. And what makes a house a home today is Karastan. Beautiful Karastan. And today's the day to save 50% at Meyer & Frank during National Karastan Month. It's one of the best times of the year to buy new carpeting and rugs for your home. Come to Meyer & Frank and save 50% off during National Karastan Month. But hurry, it ends soon. It's time for beautiful Karastan at Meyer & Frank.
Hear that? See this? Your car's telling you it needs brake service.
That means you need Meineke. Count on them for careful inspections, expert installation, and Meineke's best low price. Go to Meineke and it's lights out for all your brake problems.
At Meineke, you won't pay a lot, but you'll get a lot.
I guarantee it.
This is CNN.
Residents of the Florida Keys return home and get a first look at the aftermath of Hurricane George. And it's hard to spot here, but the storm has left its mark on home run hitter Sammy Sosa. At this hour, Hurricane George is picking up steam over the Gulf of Mexico. It's expected to slam into the Gulf Coast early Monday. This after the Florida Keys weathered the fury of the storm without a single death. But the entire island chain lost power, and some buildings and boats were heavily damaged. Many residents who decided to evacuate are now on their way home, but the going is slow because of downed power lines and debris. President Clinton has declared Florida a federal disaster area. The island in the center of the Keys was ground zero for Hurricane George. CNN's Sean Calebs is in Marathon and joins us with a damage report. Sean?
Good afternoon, Gene. Indeed, the folks here were hit among the hardest. We're actually just about 1 hour drive north of Key West under ideal conditions, which is what we have today. And really, the thousands of folks who remained in the Keys are today rolling up their sleeves and getting to work, trying to go pick up the debris and clean up the mess as best as possible. As you mentioned, a lion's share of the damage was limited to some structural damage, a lot of trees down, a lot of power lines down. All the utilities throughout the Keys really affected to a large degree, and it may take some time to get those back up. Highway 1, the thoroughfare that connects all the Keys, is closed in a great portion of the way. About 20 miles down from Key Largo is open, as the people who did evacuate as the hurricane bear down this area are now able to come back to their homes. However, many more are not, and that is what emergency officials are going to be looking at. That is a priority now, trying to get Highway 1 back open. The emergency officials here have been out there this morning. They say the road is passable if folks absolutely have to get down there, if emergency crews do. What they're doing now is going to some trailer parks and some more remote areas where the damage was somewhat extensive, trying to determine if there were any injuries there. As of now, there have been no reported deaths, no reported serious injuries from this. They say the damage was broad, but not widespread, meaning it wasn't as bad as it could have been, considering that 100-mile-an-hour winds pounded this little ribbon stretch of islands. The damage, as I mentioned, limited mostly to the utilities, and some structures lost roofs, but no serious injuries. Gene, that's basically the story from Marathon.
All right, Sean, thanks very much. We expect to hear soon from the head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, James Lee Witt, from FEMA headquarters in Washington, and I'm told he is ready to begin.
Good afternoon. This is James Lee Witt, Director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. We just completed a briefing with the National Hurricane Center, also with the state of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas, and also the state of Florida. All the federal agencies were here at this briefing, and we're trying to follow through with each of the states to make sure that we have the resources and people in place getting ready for Hurricane George as it moves towards the Alabama and Louisiana coastline, and potentially could be the panhandle of Florida. I would like to state that this is a very serious storm. The Hurricane Center projects that we could have a Category 3 hurricane. When it reaches the Louisiana-Mississippi coastline tomorrow about noon, this storm could have 115-mile-an-hour winds, and it's moving very slow. As this storm moves in and starts to move across land, it's going to be moving very slow. It's going to have a lot of rain, possibly tornadoes. It could dump as much as 5 to 20 inches of rain. And the storm surge they're projecting could be anywhere from 8 feet to 15 feet. So those people that are in the low-lying areas that could be in the path of this storm, please listen to your local emergency management, your fire service people, your local police department, and your local elected officials. Watch the television, listen to your radio, and heed those warnings. And make sure that you're in an evacuation shelter or some safe place, because this storm is very dangerous, and we do not want anyone hurt or anyone killed. So heed the warnings and take the precautions. At this briefing this morning, in the report that we had from Florida, they have quite a bit of damage, extensive damages in the Florida Keys, and as well as could get up to another inch of rain along the west coast of Florida. They are letting some people go back into certain areas of the Keys, but they still have a lot of down power lines, a lot of trees down, and a lot of the roads that have had storm surge that's been washed away that are not accessible by car. and they still have it blocked off to a certain point in the Florida Keys. So listen to those authorities. They do not want you to get into an area and get hurt by being electrocuted or running off a road that's been washed away. And as soon as they find it safe, then they will let you go back in. With me today is Lacey Suter, the Associate Director of Response Recovery, and he will bring you up to date on exactly what we have done in pre-positioning, getting ready for Hurricane George reaching the Gulf States coastline. Lacey.
Thank you, sir. All of the emergency response teams that have been requested by the states, to include Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, have all been moved into place, and we're fully operational in all 3 locations, working with our partners at the state government level. They are all ready with mobilization equipment, supplies at different centers that are either in place or moving throughout the day. So before the hurricane actually comes ashore, wherever it comes along the Gulf Coast, we expect to be fully operational and in support of the state and the local government activities, as well as moving more supplies and equipment south down the Keys and into that area in terms of power, ice, water, and a mobilized medical unit to help those folks at the lower end of the activity. And our emergency operations centers in Atlanta, in Denton, Texas, and of course here at headquarters continue to be in full operation. The activities in Puerto Rico have improved dramatically overnight. We expect upwards of 300,000 gallons of water, bottled water, to arrive today, along with 300,000 pounds of ice. Power is coming back up, not as quick as we would like, but it's coming back up faster than we might have expected it to. Generators are being installed at hospitals and some of the key pumping stations in the area, and tarps and furring strips and things of this nature, so people can begin to protect their homes from further rain and further damage are being distributed throughout the area. In our conversations with the state or the Commonwealth officials down there, it seems like the recovery has indeed begun in Puerto Rico, and we stand by to provide whatever assistance might be warranted over the next several days. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Yes, sir. Does FEMA have enough money to cover all the disaster operations that you're anticipating for Hurricane George?
Congress made us enough money available for the rest of this year. We're okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the path of the storm, where it's going, where it's headed for along the Gulf Coast?
The projection now, if you can, I don't know if you can see this or not, is basically coming in right at the Mississippi River, right at the New Orleans area, right across Lake Pontchartrain. This storm will have 115 mile-an-hour winds or greater as it comes ashore. It's a very large storm. It's going to dump a lot of rain. So, and it's going to move very slowly, and it's going to set in that one area right in here for almost 36 hours, or what they're projecting. And the whole time it's there, it's going to be a lot of wind, a lot of rain, possibly tornadoes.
Do you have some advice for the people who are...
James Lee Witt, head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency in Washington, talking about what he described as a very large, very serious storm, Hurricane George. And for more on all this, here is Orlin Sidney. Orlin?
Well, indeed, this is a strong storm, one of 4 that we're keeping an eye on. 3 storms are out in the Atlantic, but George definitely the strongest storm, and definitely the one that we're going to be keeping an eye on over the next couple of days. Very latest coordinates, we should see an update now in just about 50 minutes, but these are the very latest that we have. 385 miles southeast of New Orleans with winds of 105 miles an hour. That makes it a strong Category 2 storm, moving to the west-northwest at 12 miles an hour. Now, the track forecast does put the storm inland somewhere around New Orleans or Burris, Louisiana, and it looks like the storm will be intensifying as we head through potential landfall time. By 7 a.m. Tuesday, the storm, again, as you just heard, expected to be very slow moving, if not stalled, over the central portion of the Gulf Coast. That will really be a problem as far as rain is concerned. Certainly the storm surge will be a problem here as well. Expecting to see these winds increase to about 100 knots. It's just about 115, 116 miles an hour. So that would make it a major hurricane, Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Again now, if you take a look at what's going on in this area from Gulfport and Biloxi, Mississippi down to New Orleans and Morgan City, you'll notice that it's not that far between, say, New Iberia and New Orleans, just about 147 miles. The hurricane force winds extend out 125 miles from the center of the storm. Tropical storm force winds extend out 175 miles. So not only do we have to worry about the immediate area of landfall, but we also have to be concerned with some of the neighboring locations. Looks like the heaviest rain still so far, and the strongest winds are going to definitely be on your eastern and northern sides. Out to the west, we'll just kind of have to play it by ear and see how things go. Remember, a hurricane warning in effect from Morgan City, Louisiana to Panama City, with a hurricane watch in effect from Intracoastal City to Morgan City, and from Panama City to St. Mark's. You have a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch. More weather later. Gene?
Thank you, Orlin. The plywood is coming down in South Florida, but on the Gulf Coast, folks are boarding up and moving out. CNN's Susan Candiotti is in Biloxi, Mississippi, where people are being urged to evacuate. Susan?
They are being urged to evacuate. The question is how many of them will. A couple of hours ago, residents of Biloxi found out that this area had been upgraded from a hurricane watch to a hurricane warning. And there are a lot of casinos in the Gulf Coast town, and on Friday night, most of them, all of them rather, closed. So that meant a lot of disappointed people on Friday night, as people found out as they were guests, they were planning to stay for the weekend, that they would have to leave early. And then new arrivals were sorry to hear that they would have to turn around and head for home. But we didn't hear any arguments from anyone, and most people seem to take it in stride.
Yep. Get on the plane and head for home.
The storm could be going there. What are you going to do then?
Well, we're hoping our flight leaves this afternoon. We're out of here at about 4:30 this afternoon, so we're hoping we'll be ahead of it.
You got plans, why you just soon follow through with them, but whatever has to be, I guess. You can't buck Mother Nature.
Well, the casinos are also sending a message to all driving by so that they can see it. Go away, Hurricane George. But I don't think Hurricane George is going anywhere. Joining us now, a couple of people who live not too far from here, about 20 minutes away. This is an example of some folks who have taken precautions but say they're not going to leave. What have you done to protect your home?
I just got whatever I thought was valuable of mine, and I packed it up, and I'm going to my mom's house. She lives in Ocean Springs. Ocean Springs is usually not that hard hit on any kind of storm.
Well, what concerns do you have, ma'am? Because they are saying this is going to be a big storm. It's going to have a ton of rain, as much as 20 inches, and it's moving slowly, and it's going to be there for a while.
Well, we stayed for Elena, which is the same category. Well, it's not Category 3 yet, I don't think, but we stayed for Elena, which was Category 3, and we had very little damage, and so we're just going to stick it out.
You nervous?
Not really. She is, but I'm not.
But I'm going to get a job back if anything does happen, because I work at the Grand in Biloxi, and
that's the casino here.
Yeah.
I'm worried about whether you're going to have a job or not. All right. Well, you can tell here that it is bright and sunny, but obviously it is not going to be like that for very long once we start feeling the outer bands of the storm as early as later tonight. Back to you.
Thank you, Susan. The death toll from Hurricane George is still rising in the Dominican Republic. The government there now says 166 people were killed. The storm is also estimated to have caused $12 billion in damages to the impoverished nation. More than 100,000 people were left homeless. The Dominican Congress says the government did a poor job of warning people. Weather watchers on the web are just a click away from CNN Interactive's extensive coverage of Hurricane George. You can track the storm and access links to the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service. That's at CNN.com. Much more to come on CNN Saturday, including the latest on the president's troubles when we come back.
Latest in a long history of exceptional cars from Audi. The Audi A6.
Wouldn't it be great if we went through life without any problems? Well, that's just not the way things are. Life can get tough for each and every one of us, but we can face whatever comes along with peace and confidence because there is reason for hope. We're your neighbors, the people of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and we'd like you to know that with Christ, there's plenty of hope to go around.
I want to put you in a
new GMC Yukon
Denali. No payments ever.
Visit any Red Roof Inn before October 31st and enter to win a new
Yukon Denali. And the price?
I'm giving it away. No payments ever. Hey, imagine.
Yeah.
I'll do this. A new Yukon Denali from Red Roof Inn.
Plus, you could win a year's worth of AT&T prepaid calling. Every guest gets a free AT&T prepaid card. Call us crazy. But call us today.
And with a smile. Call 1-800-THE-ROOF. Red Roof Inns. Nice people and an honest value.
Baseball players know a lot about home equity loans.
So do football players.
At Superior Bank, we don't play games with your financial future. Instead, Superior has been helping homeowners for over 75 years, helping homeowners reduce their bills to one monthly payment and get the cash they need when they need it, even if they've had credit problems in the past. So if you're tired of playing games, call Superior Direct now at 1-888-678-7777.
Tonight at the Movie Lounge, it's Maximum Overdrive with special guest, actor and comedian Fred Willard. The Movie Lounge, tonight, 10:25 Eastern, only on the Superstation.
Now the latest in the investigation of President Clinton. The House Judiciary Committee has agreed to release Linda Tripp's audio tapes of her conversations with Monica Lewinsky. But first, they'll be edited for profanity, gossip, and conversations affecting third parties. The panel will also release thousands of pages of documents gathered by independent counsel Ken Starr. Included will be transcripts of the grand jury testimony of Vernon Jordan and the president's personal secretary, Betty Currie. The White House, meanwhile, is complaining of lack of fairness and bipartisanship by the Judiciary Committee's Republican majority. Bob Dole is knocking down reports he would act as liaison between the White House and congressional Republicans in the Clinton scandal. On CNN's Larry King Live, the former senator and GOP presidential nominee expressed doubts about accepting such a role, but he did voice hope about the current party wrangling on the Judiciary Committee.
I think it's going to settle down. I mean, it's obvious that, you know, the Democrats would like to say, well, let's get rid of this before the election, let's do censure. It's not going to happen. I think they know that, but they want to make the case. I think we're lucky to have Henry Hyde as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he said very clearly that he's running this investigation, and he will be fair.
Dole will be one of Wolf Blitzer's guests on CNN's Late Edition, Sunday at noon Eastern Time, 9 Pacific. The House has approved a tax cut that would be funded almost entirely by the first federal budget surplus in 3 decades. House Republicans today passed the 5-year, $80 billion tax cut on a vote of 229 to 195. It goes to the Senate now, where its future is uncertain. Democrats, including President Clinton, complain the measure would jeopardize the future of Social Security, despite a GOP move to protect 90% of the surplus until Social Security is safeguarded. President Clinton has threatened a veto. It is the first national march on cancer. Thousands of cancer survivors, patients, and others gathered today on Washington's National Mall to celebrate success, remember victims, and demand more money for research. Speaking from California, President Clinton saluted the marchers in his radio address and called for new efforts to fight cancer.
As we continue to unravel the genetic secrets of cancer, we must apply that knowledge to the detection of the disease. I am therefore issuing a challenge to the scientific community to develop, by the year 2000, new diagnostic techniques for every major kind of cancer, so we catch it at its earliest and often most treatable stage.
The president also ordered new steps, including wider access to clinical trials and giving patients a bigger voice in setting research priorities. When we come back, a dramatic home run race and the final weekend of a baseball season that's been far more than regular. Stay with us.
66! At Invesco, we know that before we invest your money with a company, we look deep into that company. We know with whom they do business, where they do business, and what kind of business they do. And we even learn a thing or two about who they really are. Invesco, a family of no-load funds. Over 65 years of experience, a global perspective. You should know what Invesco knows.
Baseball players know a lot about home equity loans.
So do football players.
At Superior Bank, we don't play games with your financial future. Instead, Superior has been helping homeowners for over 75 years, helping homeowners reduce their bills to one monthly payment and get the cash they need when they need it, even if they've had credit problems in the past. So if you're tired of playing games, call Superior Direct now at 1-888-678-7777.
In the global economy, companies can't afford to shut down. So America's largest generator of electricity never rests. Southern Company uses its resources to track the availability of oil, gas, and electricity 24 hours a day. We keep our customers up and running while saving them millions. So at the end of the day, they know we're still at work, keeping the power on. We are Southern Company, energy to serve your world.
Sunday on the premiere of Cold War. They were titans of the 20th century, leaders of the most powerful nations on Earth, unlikely allies in a common cause. But their war with Nazi Germany could not prevent a growing distrust that would eventually threaten all of mankind. The battle lines were being drawn for a Cold War. The landmark documentary series begins Sunday, 8 Eastern on CNN.
Watching you, CNN.
It has been quite a Major League Baseball season, even for those of us not in Chicago or St. Louis. There has been a common excitement for all fans. CNN's Patty Davis today is in St. Louis to help chronicle the exploits of Cardinals home run slugger Mark McGwire. Patty?
Well, Gene, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch today says it all, 66 and counting. And the fans here at Busch Stadium are gathering something about 3 hours early for this game to get a glance at Mark McGwire, to see him in batting practice. They're hoping that Mark McGwire will hit number 67, perhaps even number 68 for them today. Now, last night, Mark McGwire slammed number 66 into the left field stands. It was the bottom of the 5th inning, and there was a mad scramble for the ball once it hit the stands. The man who caught it says the ball belongs to the man who hit it. Now, McGwire was actually the second one to get to number 66. Chicago Cubs Sammy Sosa got there first. Now, Sosa hit his number 66 into the deck on left center field in the 4th inning in Houston. Now, while the country and the world has been closely watching this home run race, Sosa has been closely watching the devastation of Hurricane George in his country, the Dominican Republic. The death toll there now reported to be at least 166.
What we need to do, just trying to go out there and trying to help people, and I'm here to do everything that I can to help those people that they don't have no home and they don't have nothing out there in my country, in the Dominican Republic.
Now, one thing that Sosa might do is auction off ball number 62. Now, you'll recall that he hit that a couple weeks ago. He might. There was a huge lawsuit over the ball. 2 men claim that they are both the rightful owner. Now, the lawsuits have been dropped. Sammy Sosa may get that ball back now in the next couple days. He says he may give the money, if he auctions the ball off, back to the Dominican Republic. So that's the story. Both teams play again today. Both players have a chance to hit more home runs, Gene. This is Patty Davis reporting live from Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
Patty, nice assignment. We will track both Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire today. Sosa's Chicago Cubs are in Houston playing the Astros this afternoon. At stake for the Cubs is a National League playoff wildcard spot. Funeral services are being held in Lake Forest, California today for Olympic gold medalist Florence Griffith Joyner, who died in her sleep early Monday. Hundreds of mourners filed past her casket yesterday in Los Angeles. The cause of her death is still undetermined. She was only 38 years old. Just ahead, an update on Hurricane George. Stay with us.
Is that Johnson's team behind us?
Exactly.
Are they members of Hertz #1 Club Gold?
Exactly.
Are we members of Hertz #1?
Not exactly.
So thanks to Hertz, they're going to get to the meeting on time.
And we'll be late?
So exactly what'll I tell the boss?
In Rent-A-Car, there's Hertz, and there's not exactly. Make sure you choose the right one.
And then a dog in the cargo hold 8-hour presentation.
Is he buying it?
Not exactly.
My father works for International Paper in the chemical division. He's not a famous chef, but he got rid of a bad taste that the whole country had to taste.
International Paper helped develop the adhesive that made self-adhesive stamps possible.
I eat broccoli sometimes. I tried Brussels sprouts once, but licking a stamp was a big yuck.
International Paper, finding solutions to problems big and small.
At Invesco, we know that the financial world isn't always as it seems. The big economic picture can always change quickly. And to manage a fund, Invesco knows you need to be on top of the changing picture and know how it might affect you right at home. Invesco, a family of no-load funds. Over 65 years of experience, a global perspective. You should know what Invesco knows.
No matter who we are, where we live, life today can be tough. We all struggle. But there is a way to have peace and confidence in facing whatever comes along. There is reason for hope. We're your neighbors, the people of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and we'd like you to know that with Christ, there's plenty of hope to go around.
Once again, our top story, residents of the Florida Keys are cleaning up while the Gulf states are boarding up. No one was killed by Hurricane George in Florida, but the Keys sustained heavy damage. George is expected to make landfall early Monday near the mouth of the Mississippi River. And we will check once again with Orlin Sidney. Orlin?
Well, George is certainly going to be a big problem for us. We also have some strong thunderstorms in the north, though I want to talk about quickly. This area is experiencing some very heavy thunderstorms. There is a tornado watch in effect from north of Saginaw, Michigan, for most of the upper peninsula of Michigan. And we continue to see these storms heading off to the east today as a cold front system is working across the northern U.S. This is a ridge of high pressure that we're going to be interested in later as far as the track of George is concerned. It looks like this ridge is going to be building as we get trough coming down from the northeastern U.S. Post-trough, we will see the ridge building in the east. That may hold the storm off just a little bit. That may mean it'll stall out somewhere across the Gulf of Mexico, as we talked about earlier. That would be really bad news because there's lots of rainfall associated with the storm already moving away from Florida. That would cause heavy rain across Louisiana and especially across Lake Pontchartrain and the Mississippi Basin. Big trouble there. The rest of the east looks pretty good. Not much going on there. We're just looking at a cold front system that will continue moving its way eastward as we head through the rest of the afternoon hours. Again, now we do have a tornado watch in effect for the northern portion of Michigan. That includes some of the upper peninsula, and this will be in effect throughout the afternoon hours. Alpena, Michigan, not Saginaw right now, but south to Detroit and on towards Toronto. You might see some strong storms, as well as north of Green Bay as another little impulse of cooler air starts to work towards you. Good news is things will be cooling off after this system passes through. You'll see 50s all the way down to Amarillo, Texas. Gene?
Thank you, Orlin. That's CNN Saturday for now. I'm Gene Randall reporting from CNN Center in Atlanta this weekend. More news at the top of the hour. Next, Science and Technology Week, and Rick Lockridge has a preview.
The $20 bill has been painstakingly redesigned to make counterfeiting harder than ever. But forget that. The real question is, do you like it? I'm Rick Lockridge, and that story is next on Science and Technology Week.
Go inside politics with Bernard Shaw and Judy Woodruff. Now for a full hour. Weekdays 5 Eastern, only on CNN.
My twin brother David was killed in a car accident in rural Wisconsin and was instantly brain dead. And our family got a phone call probably about an hour after it happened. We had talked about organ donation. Actually, my brother was the one that had brought it up. Knowing that those were his wishes, it wasn't scary. It wasn't a big deal. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So it was sort of like the most fitting tribute that, you know, his death, the final comment wasn't his death. It was that, you know, it was life. It was life affirming.
You know the animals out there. At Landmark Ford, we emphasize the human side of car buying with experienced salespeople who know their cars and know how to listen. And with a service department staffed with more Ford-certified master mechanics than any other dealership in the Northwest. Did I mention selection? Why monkey around? Remember, Landmark Ford can beat any local dealer's price. Come visit our one and only Tigard campus. Over 13 acres of savings. I-5 at the Haynes exit.